From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
I'm Charles Denny. Community and backyard gardens provide healthy foods for people in a rural Tennessee county. We'll tell you about Grow Appalachia. That story coming up on AgDay.
A rise in farmer sentiment.
And the barometer is up 20 points over the last 2 months, but it's still 15% lower than it was this time last year.
We dig into the latest change in numbers. More rail unions sign on to an agreement.
If a strike happens, it would be, frankly, couldn't come at a worse time here, right on the cusp of harvest activity.
As an important deadline looms, right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Michelle Roy. Clinton has the day off. 2 more rail labor unions have reached tentative agreements with the railroads. The latest, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers and the American Train Dispatchers Association. Together, they represent approximately 6,000 freight rail employees. This brings the total to 5 of the 12 unions that have now announced tentative agreements. Officials in the grain industry are hopeful that will continue to cause a domino effect that will avert a strike on September 16th. If not, U.S. farmers will face a real disaster, even if the strike were to only last a few days.
If a strike happens, it would be, frankly, couldn't come at a worse time here, right on the cusp of harvest activity.
And he says that would have a negative impact on cash prices for farmers.
If freight is not available, or if it is available on a very limited basis and the price of it goes higher as a result, that would have a detrimental effect on the basis.
Senator Dahl says even without a strike, rail service has been horrendous. It improved slightly after the April Surface Transportation Board hearing, but now he says it's the worst it's been. A new Ag Economy Barometer shows that farmer sentiment improved last month. The telephone survey conducted by Purdue University and the CME Group shows the barometer rose 14 points to 117. The rise attributed to an increase in both the index of current conditions and the index of future expectations. Researchers say farmers were less worried in August about their farm's financial situation than in July, although several concerns remain, with over half of those asked saying that higher input costs were their biggest concern for next year. Another issue on their minds, farmland cash rental rates.
57% of the corn and soybean farmers in this month's survey said that they expect to see cash rental rates for farmland rise in 2023 compared to 2022. 2/3 of those respondents said that they expect to see the rise in rental rates to be less than 10% per acre.
This month's survey also revealed an uptick in the percentage of farmers engaged in discussions with companies offering payments to sequester carbon. However, just 1% of those asked in this month's survey said they've signed a carbon contract, with the majority of those choosing not to sign, suggesting that payment rates offered to them remain too low. More help for farmers impacted by wild weather conditions this growing season could be on the way. The White House is asking for $6.5 billion in emergency disaster relief. Of that, USDA would get $1.5 billion to provide direct payments to farmers and ranchers who've lost crops and livestock this year. The ag disaster aid will likely be increased by billions via farm state lawmakers. Republican Senator John Hoeven of North Dakota has led the move in recent years and will likely do so again. There will also be money set aside for Kentucky, which has been hit hard by flooding, along with longer-term recovery flooding for disaster last year in Louisiana, California, and Texas. $4.5 billion would be used to fight monkeypox. Across the West, the scorching heat is showing no signs of cooling off, and that is driving up power demands in California, where temperatures reached past 110 degrees in some places over the holiday weekend. The state declaring a grid emergency, now at risk of rolling blackouts. People across the state are being asked to ramp up energy conservation. The National Weather Service now says more than 100 records for daily high temperatures could be broken through today. USDA on Tuesday releasing the latest crop progress numbers with no change in the corn condition rating, still 54% rated good to excellent. That's the same as last week. And it's the same story for soybeans with 57% good to excellent, no change as well from the previous week. But check out spring wheat harvest, really picking up pace. Now 71% done. That's up more than 20% from last week. Still running behind the 5-year average, though, of 83%. And winter wheat planting just getting underway. 3% of the crop now in the ground, on par with the 5-year average. And while that dangerous and record-breaking heat will remain in California for much of the week, there is also concern about heavy rain in the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Meteorologist Matt Yurasovic joins us with more.
Yeah, that's right, Michelle. We had a lot of rainfall across parts of the mid-Atlantic states, especially into Pennsylvania and then up into the Northeast as we head over the last few days. And that's going to continue at least for the next 24 hours. Look at this rainfall already. A lot of it falling, especially southeast PA, even into northeast PA, and then southern parts of the Northeast, and where we still see that chance for excessive rainfall possible, and that could lead to some more areas of flooding back in eastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, and northern parts of West Virginia, and then all the way up the East Coast as well, heading through places like Philadelphia and New York City and southern New England as well. You can see by Future Track still showing scattered showers around even through Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon before that storm system will pull away, and then the sunshine will finally start to dry things out as we head over the weekend. And this is a great way to end the day. Rod Nelson of Rumsey, Alberta, sharing this picture of wheat harvest. Look at that spectacular sunset. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
An update to a story we've been following involving Dutch farmers protesting pollution regulations. The Dutch agriculture minister has unexpectedly resigned, telling reporters he wasn't suitable for the job. He had just negotiated a controversial agreement with the European Commission to scrap a Dutch exemption to manure spreading limits. The country's ag sector has been in crisis since a 2019 court ruling forced the government to cut nitrogen oxide and ammonia emissions. Thousands of farmers have staged protests, including blockading cities with tractors and burning hay bales along highways. California's Democratic governor has signed a bill that drastically increases the state's oversight of the fast food industry. The so-called FAST Act would set up a 10-member council. It will be comprised of people from labor and employers to oversee the industry's labor practices in the state. The council could raise the industry minimum wage to as high as $22 an hour next year. It will also help decide minimum standards for hours and working conditions. The new standards will apply to large restaurant chains and those with more than 100 locations. The restaurant industry warns it could raise prices, with a McDonald's executive calling the move lopsided, hypocritical, and ill-conceived. It was a mostly higher day in the markets with the exception of soybeans right after Labor Day. We'll get full analysis with Ted Seifert coming up. And why people in Kentucky are asking people to come grow with them in the country.
Hi there, Ag Day. Ray and Kenny from the Georgia Farm Monitor. 40 years, are you kidding me?
Wow, congratulations. And here's to many more years of sharing the stories of America's farmers.
Happy anniversary.
Ag Day is brought to you by Germinator Closing Wheels. Germinator, it's not just any closing wheel. Reach your yield potential. Get 10% off while supplies last.
Energy concerns are rising in Europe after Russia announced it will not restart the flow of gas to Germany as planned. Gazprom said it would postpone restarting the pumping of natural gas through the Nord Stream 1 pipeline. The Kremlin saying that it is until the collective West lifts sanctions over Moscow over its invasion of Ukraine. Now, the announcement has raised fears of an extended energy shortage in Europe. It's led to soaring natural gas prices, which have hit records in the past few weeks in Europe. Market watchers say Europe needs to be ready for zero Russian gas this winter. Europe has lined up all the alternative gas supplies it can. That includes shipments of liquefied natural gas from the U.S. and more gas from Norway and Azerbaijan. Joining us with market analysis, Ted Seifert, Zaner Ag Hedge. And we had corn and soybeans going in opposite directions on Tuesday, Ted. And let's talk about one of the reasons soybeans saw a pullback, and that was some talk of Argentina maybe moving their currency around.
Yes. So Argentina is offering exporters and farmers a vastly better exchange rate than what their pinned rate is. in order to get U.S. dollars coming back into the country, one. And two, I think it's really aimed at competing with us during our main export season and also pulling some of their reserve stocks out. I mean, Argentina likes to carry between 8 and 14 million metric tons in reserve as a currency hedge. Well, I think Argentina wants to flush some of that out. Also, Argentinian farmers are like 52% sold, which is a bit behind where they normally would be this year. So there will be some of that as well. But it's what's being reported is $1 billion worth of billion US worth of their soybeans will get sold in the next 3 days.
Wow.
And then potential of 5 billion US equivalent of soybeans through the month of September. Or at least that's how much they would be open up to for this special exchange rate.
So did we also
$5 billion? Yeah.
Did we also get some corn soybean spread action here on weather and moving into the WAS, do you think, or not?
When you have a fairly decent amount of pressure on soybeans like that, then yeah, there's going to be some unwinding of those spreads or putting some of those new spreads on. I think that was something that was happening today, but I think it was caused by two different fundamental factors, right? The Argentinian thing, listen, $5 billion equivalent of U.S. soybeans at a $14 soybean, that's 357 million bushels. If Argentina sells that during the month of September, how much is that going to cut into what our export sales that the USDA has on the balance sheet? If that's the case, 80 million bushels even if it's just 80 million bushels, that's a whole bushel off of the USDA's yield. So It doesn't matter that much. Whereas corn is now focused on the weather because the Argentinian export program did not include corn. So looking at that hot and dry concerns out west, corn was able to trade that.
All right. Thanks so much for your analysis, Ted Seifert, Zaner Ag Hedge. And we have ag weather coming up.
For professional marketing advice specifically tailored to your needs, call Zaner Ag Hedge at 312-277-0113.
Meteorologist Matt Yurosavik is in with our national forecast. As we look at the map, lots of 90s, even hundreds.
Oh yeah, it's going to be still warm even across the northern plains. That heat dome still out there in the west, but things start to break up next week, and we'll have a look at that here in just a second. But start out with those temperatures. Taking a look at that temperature map, you can see still very warm across not only the southwest, but all the way up through the center of the country into the northern Rockies, northern plains states as well. Temperatures topping out near 100 degrees, Rapid City to Billings, and in the 90s across Texas and across much of the Gulf Coast and East Coast. A little bit cooler though up here as we head through parts of the Great Lakes and into the Northeast, with still a lot of cloud cover lingering around, lower humidity here allowing for cooler temperatures to drop on down, but things remain warm and muggy in the south and still extremely warm all the way up into parts of the Dakotas and places like Nebraska, eastern Colorado, and Kansas as we head through tomorrow afternoon. Still again hot and dry in the southwest, and this is why we've got a big dome of heat out here over the western United States. The good news is as we head towards the weekend, look at this, a little bit of a dip in that jet stream is going to start to kind of put an end to that high heat, especially in the north. It's going to keep things a little more unsettled as well. And then this low, it's almost a little bit of a cutoff low. It's going to swing through the Great Lakes and into the Northeast. That keeps things pretty damp into the early part of next week, but it still allows for some heat to build in the west. And there's a look at that jet stream energy coming into the Great Lakes as we head through the weekend and into early next week. That right there signifies some of that energy that we will have some rain in the forecast there across the Great Lakes and over the next 10 days. Take a look at this because we're going to see a lot more unsettled weather all the way from the Gulf Coast and into the mid-Atlantic states and even the Great Lakes as well. But until then, high pressure stays in control. Rain chances stay to the south. It's not until after the weekend where we start to bring that unsettled weather back into the northern plains and the Great Lakes. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Red Lion, Pennsylvania, scattered showers, a high near 70 degrees. Heading to Holly Springs, Mississippi, scattered afternoon storms, a high near 82 degrees. And Burns, Oregon, sunny and hot, a high of 98 degrees.
Police need your help figuring out who stole over $100,000 worth of pork. And later, how a program in Kentucky is helping feed communities while educating people about where their food comes from in the country.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
A new study says farmers could save $162 per acre by using hog manure. The study is part of an Iowa Select Farms Smart Soil Partnership Program. It was conducted by Sustainable Environmental Consultants and funded by the National Pork Board. Researchers also report using hog manure as fertilizer can positively impact overall soil health by cutting soil erosion rates. It says using manure saved the equivalent of 97 dump trucks of soil, 38 tons of nitrogen, and 7 tons of phosphorus. They estimated total cost savings for farmers to be more than $1 million based on a reduced need for commercial nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Iowa police are looking for suspects after they say more than $100,000 worth of pork was stolen. They say it was taken from the JBS plant in Ottumwa last Thursday. That's when they responded to a call about a stolen semi at the meatpacking plant. They believe the semi was then used to steal 3 trailers filled with pork ready to be distributed. 2 of the stolen trailers were recovered in the city. The remaining trailer was located in another county, but all of the pork product had been removed. Investigators are asking people to contact the Ottumwa Police Department if they have any information. Knowing where your food comes from by taking an active role in making it grow. How a program in Kentucky is helping people gain understanding while helping themselves and their community. It's in the country. A Tennessee county is working to improve diet-related health concerns for people by offering fresh vegetables to anyone who needs them, grown in community and backyard gardens. Charles Denny has more on a program called Grow Appalachia.
The baby tomatoes are ripe for the picking in Breanne Upchurch's Oneida garden. She and her young daughter have a little morning harvest here. Breanne grows lots of beautiful produce, and when they have extra, they share.
I usually grow for my grandparents. They live next door and they're not able to grow things anymore. And my aunt lives over here, so we take stuff there. And then we take stuff to church. So we try and help out.
Breanne's place is one of 70 home or community gardens in the Grow Appalachia program, covering Scott County, Tennessee, and neighboring McCreary County, Kentucky. Here's another location in Huntsville at the Scott County Justice Center. Produce here is harvested to feed inmates and is also donated. The idea with Grow Appalachia is that people are provided the things they need to grow healthy vegetables for themselves and others. UT and UK Extension collaborate here with several community partners.
We're hoping that this can help a lot, especially our lower income families or limited income families, to help them be a little more food secure, that they have a little more ownership of where their food comes from and the quality of the food that they have.
Grow Appalachia is a partnership with the Scott Christian Care Center and Berea College. This program includes gardens in Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia. The Scott McCreary program has been one of the most impactful around the Southeast, with people learning organic gardening skills and then growing garden fresh vegetables for people who now can enjoy those as part of a healthier diet.
Last year, our program produced over 16,000 pounds of organic produce for our community. And also we provide hand tools, seeds, plants, tilling services.
We provide research-based information for these people that maybe have done it for years, and our information helps them maybe to do it in a different way so that it makes their lives easier.
Grow Appalachia's slogan is "Come Grow With Us." And that's an invitation more and more people are accepting in these border counties. The tradition of home gardening lives on, and the neighborly notion of sharing the harvest and helping others. This is Charles Denny reporting.
Thanks, Charles. That's all the time that we have for this morning from everyone here at Ag Day. Have yourself a great day.